Hey, Thrind here, and I'm here with a very special episode. This is a crossover with a good friend of ours, Adrian Watson. He's the one who sent us the pilum that performs so well in our pilum videos that we constructed. He made the actual heads for it. He is a blacksmith from Aussie. He has his own YouTube channel, and you can go by and check that out. That is No BS Survival Blacksmithing, Swords and Armor. You can go by there. I'll put the URL up for you. We're going to be making fire steels today. This is a crossover video where he will be doing the work and I will be explaining what he's doing. This is one of the three ways that you can actually create fire that we know of in the old Viking age. This was the most common. You just saw the end result that he will be creating, and this is made out of spring steel. The piece right there that he's holding up, he will be thinning it out and tapering it. You'll be getting the little center ridge there and the unique shape where you see the actual little curls is very unique to Scandinavia and the Viking Age. He's going to be using the horn on his anvil to create the actual middle ridge. He's going to be hitting the edge of the steel on the anvil to create that piece right there. Hammering straight down and then drawing it out as he pulls it to create that shape where it finally tapers down to the little classic curl at the end. I will add that he's hammering this, and as you notice it, it's not going to be quite as closed as some of the finds that we find archaeologically. The two other methods that they had in Scandinavia were actually the fire drill, where you use a bow and drill to actually start fire. Other methods were actually, believe it or not, like the sunstone, they had lenses that are documented in the sagas that they used to focus the sun and actually start fires. I don't know how common that method was. Yeah, he created a little saddle shape if you look at it in the very center. And if you look at it, it almost looks like a long ship if it was curled back to itself. He's going to hammer it and draw it out more now after he reheats the metal on the horn of the anvil. Continually hammering it. Although they worked on much smaller anvils in Scandinavia, it makes it much easier modernly using a large anvil. But it was still possible. Their anvil was usually a little bent piece of iron driven into a tree trunk. Alright, he's getting much closer to the shape he needs now. He's going to continue to draw it out to a pointed shape so he can cause the curl. I think it's quite cool to do this type of tutorial and actually see how it's done firsthand. And he's getting very, very close to the proper shape now. And he's starting to put the curvature in it, it looks like. When hammering with an anvil, always hammer straight down. If you draw the metal, you draw it with the actual pliers as he's holding it with, or tongs. But always hammer straight down. That's one thing I've always learned. Otherwise, you can easily jettison your metal directly off the flat surface. He's using the flat now to thin it. Nice hammering technique. I can see how we ended up with such a good pilum. Now it seems to be working on the actual shape of the point. Getting closer and closer to the shape, as you see. He's got half the saddle, that section. He's going to set it down on the horn of the anvil to get the actual sweep, to make it look proper and shape it correctly. Now he's going to hammer onto the other half of the section to create the other curve on top of the anvil. And draw it out. Creating that little saddle shape, he continues to hammer it. And as you see, it's shaping quickly now. Notice as he flattens it, as he curves it, he has to keep flattening it, is the way to put it. Because what happens is the metal will actually broaden. So to keep it the right thickness, he has to do that as well. And he's getting closer and closer to the proper shape as he creates that little saddle shape in the center and draws out the two ends to points. Getting closer and closer here. What I like about this video is it's pretty much the entire process with little skips, not much. So you're pretty much seeing the entire process of creating this firesteel. And I'm sure it was pretty much identical if you were back and you had your stock in the actual day. Now he uses a cutter and he cut off that little end, and now he's back heating it to make the point on the opposite end. Same process of squaring it, hitting it one way and then the other way to keep it even, drawing it to a point. Hammering straight down. As we see, he reheated it to continue the process. If you want to construct your own firesteel, this is actually a good tutorial video for that. And as he was telling me, you can make it closer to the originals that you find in the museum. He likes his a little bit broader, the opening in it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not historical. As you saw, one of the examples we have, it looks a little closer, but it's still open as well. Although some were almost completely closed. Now he's creating the taper. At the very end for the little curlies, the spirals that are very unique to this design. He did cheat there. He admitted that he actually cut a little bit off with either a grinder or a cutting tool to get it even. Yes, and if you notice, it looks a lot like Thor's hammer if you look at it from that. He was wondering if that might be the reason for the little ridge in the center. Very possible. Maybe it would be something to resemble the hammer of Thor. I mean, if you think about the hammer representing lightning itself, and where lightning strikes, there's fire. Maybe it was some ceremonial idea to create the fire starter to work more properly or appropriately, to do its job like it should. Very interesting idea. He addressed me with that, and I was like, well, yeah, I do kind of see the shape of Mjolnir or a hammer itself, which definitely would represent Thor's hammer, and the spark could actually be the idea behind the whole thing. Okay, now he's going to go with the curl down. Curl goes down because then it will curl in after he makes the little spirals. As you can see, the curl's coming quickly. The saddle's pointed up. This is the little intricate part here where it'll be a little more difficult. You have to take your time, be slow about hitting it. Don't hit too hard too quickly, or you just kind of crush the whole thing in a way you can't get it apart the way you want it. Pretty tedious, but he's doing the job well. Looking nice. Oh, perfect. You can imagine the old smiths making one of these as he works. Getting closer and closer to our end result here. Now he's going to curl the arm back around, of course. He actually has some quite interesting videos on making a do-it-yourself longsword, a late century longsword, and other items. I'm looking forward to maybe anything else he can send to our channel to test out, and I'm sure we'll be doing that in the future. He has a few ideas. A lot of them are difficult because of the cost to have them shipped from Aussie to here. He's going to use the tongs to curl it, and they could very easily have done this back then. They wouldn't have been using vice grips, they would have been using actual tongs. But as you watch, he heated just the part he needs to bend, not the actually curled piece, but the actual arm of it, so he can bend it back the way he wants. Very nice. Now you could curve it in more to look more like historical finds, but if you like it more open like his, that's also appropriate. I mean, we find all types, so a lot of times they're a lot more closed. Okay, he's making the other curl. As you notice, he's getting it quite easily this time. Like I said, this is the tedious work here if you want to make sure you don't mess that up. Very meticulous. But he's shaping it quite quickly. I notice he does have to hammer it out to keep the proper thickness. Flatten it on the sides. Very nice work. It's coming together quite nicely. Alright, as you can see, he's completing it, and it's almost done. Very, very close. If y'all want to go by and check out his channel, be sure and do that. That is the No BS Survival Blacksmith of Arms and Armor. I'll put the URL up, like I said, at the end, and I'll put it down in the description below. I thought this was an interesting idea for a crossover because I know a lot of people out who are into Viking Age reenactment would be into actually creating one of these. He polished it up a bit, and now he's going to harden it. He's going to heat it up and then harden it in oil. He heated up to the point where it was no longer magnetic. Dipping it in some kind of oil here. Totally cooling it. These are excellent tutorials. You can find these type of tutorials on his actual page. If you want to hear him describe this in his own words and actually see him do it, I'm pretty sure he may have a tutorial. And he tested it on a piece of quartz. Let's see what kind of sparks we get. I'm seeing them afly. With the proper tinder, dry tinder, I'm sure that would easily start a fire. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and farewell.